I am ready.
Okay, welcome everybody to this edition of the QCast with a very dark looking me. Sorry about that, something about my camera. And a very enlightened, fresh looking Mr. Mike Dooley. Hello, Mike.
Gumbo, fellow adventurers, and Steve, great to be with you.
Thank you, thank you. For those of you who don't know, which probably isn't many of you, but Mike Dooley is a New York Times best-selling author and the creator of Notes from the Universe, whose acclaimed books include Infinite Possibilities, The Art of Living Your Dreams. They've been published in 27 languages worldwide, and he was one of the featured teachers and experts in the hit personal development and spirituality film, The Secret, and is also the founder of TUT's Philosophical Adventurers Club, TUT standing for Totally Unique Thoughts, which is home to over 800,000. That's almost pushing 1 million online members. So Mike, fantastic to see you. I was just reminiscing, the other day, you and I have known each other the thick end of 20 years.
That's quite unbelievable. And I have you to thank for much of my success, Steve. You remember you invited me to London, and it was beyond my wildest dreams that I would begin my speaking career internationally. And Bob's your uncle. There you have it. I was launched, and I haven't stopped touring until coronavirus.
Yeah. It's funny because, if you asked me specifically, how did I become aware of Mike Dooley? I couldn't tell you, but at that time, I was what I call a personal development junkie. So at that time, for about 5 years, if I didn't spend a few hours, I would purposely go out in my car to drive and listen to CDs, and I was all over Nightingale, Conan, Hay House, anywhere online to buy stuff. So, and I was into lots of different speakers and teachers. And I think I saw your CD program, Infinite Possibilities, and the first edition of that, because I know you did a follow-up. And I bought that, and just something resonated. And, I used to lend those CDs out to people, and everybody then ended up buying them themselves, So, and here we
so much.
are. Yeah, it's good information. So, so where should we start? I've got so much stuff written down here to remind me. Tell me about Notes from the Universe. What sparked that idea to call your business or your program or your method of reaching out to people Notes from the Universe? It's probably what resonated with me.
Yeah, that started everything with this chapter of my life that is now 20 years old. It started in January 2000. It was then that I was going through the dark night of my soul, really the lowest ebb of my entire life. I had wound down and liquidated a business. I was on the brink of turning 40. I didn't know what I was going to do next. I had a big home mortgage. And I remember, since I was very well versed metaphysically, through books I had read and practices I had adopted in my life, I remember thinking, I wish I could have a reminder service every day, some email that would just show up and remind me that I am of the divine, that there are infinite possibilities for my joy and my comeback to the world, to redeem myself, to live in abundance again, and to fall in love and live happily ever after. And nobody was doing it to my awareness. So I started sending out my own little daily emails as Mike, which were not that popular, but they led 10 months later to this idea of, if I wrote as the universe, I could say more and it would be more impactful. If some unknown guy named Mike tells you, you rock and thoughts become things, it's like, yeah, bud, who are you? get off your cloud. But if the universe appears and says you
Yeah.
rock, your thoughts become things, it stops you and you allow it in. And then it became extremely popular. We're rapidly headed towards 1 million now, from
Yeah.
36 people in the beginning. And it's been my platform. I didn't know I was creating a platform. I was just desperate 20 years ago. The internet, was brand new to me, at least. And viral marketing, affiliate marketing were brand new concepts. Today, the first thing any entrepreneur would coach somebody new to internet business is get a platform. Well, unbeknownst to me, thanks to the divine, thanks to big end results and dreams and the metaphysical footwork I was doing back then, a platform was assembling beneath my feet. And now I just send out an email saying I'm going to be in London or Manchester or Sydney or Auckland, and hundreds of paying people show up for a day-long workshop, and they buy my books, and I get to do what I love. I love sharing about life, dreams, and happiness, and it's seems to be mutually appreciated by those in my audiences and my readers. So I'm still sending out notes from the universe for free Monday through Friday.
I'm still getting them as well. And so I'm curious. You did tell me this, but I've slept since then, mate. Jambo, what does that mean? Jambo Fellow Adventurers. That's how you start all your CDs, all your messages.
Yeah, yes. When I was starting out writing these emails, there wasn't even a proper website. It was a defunct t-shirt gift company's website, my former defunct t-shirt gift company website. And I knew that in my emails, which was my first offering, I would get nowhere if I just said, believe in yourself. It's like, you got to be a little more creative than that. Even though it's pure truth, you got to be more creative. And so, I would try to say things in a unique and playful way that would make an impression, stick under people's skin, and be a little bit different. And when I finally fleshed out the website to mirror the motivation I was sending out by email, I didn't want it to be, Mike's Place. I didn't want it to be, selfimprovement.com. I didn't want it to be some generic thing. So I thought, this is going to be an adventurers club for the adventure of life, because all things are possible, and we have dreams to remind us of what we're capable of achieving. So in the theme of having an adventurers club, given that I had been to Africa by that point in my life and gone on a photographic safari in the Masai Mara, there you are surrounded by people who speak Swahili, and Swahili's greeting is Jambo. It is one of the happiest languages and one of the happiest greetings I've ever experienced. And by now I've been many, many places. So I created a little lexicon for the Adventurers Club at tut.com, and Jambo is the official greeting, among a few other keywords.
Now, you keep talking, you mention in a lot of the time when I've seen you talking to people and in your talks about, and you've just said it a couple of times then, you've said you liquidated, you've said my defunct t-shirt business, but it wasn't that defunct, was it? Because you did about 12 million dollars over 10 years. I mean, not to be sniffed at, yeah? You were successful, right, in that game?
Yeah. Well, first out of college, I was a Price Waterhouse certified public accountant, your version of a chartered accountant, for 6 years. Then I became an entrepreneur selling t-shirts with my mother and brother from scratch, just because I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to have a product. I didn't want to be, a bean counter, with all due respect to the profession. And then over the course of 10 years, we sold $10 million, the three of us, with our own brand that was my brother's art and my little metaphysical sayings combined with fishies and palm trees and dolphins. But by the end of 10 years, the trends were declining. My mother, we had bought her out. My brother and I were at each other's throats. It wasn't fun anymore. So we decided to liquidate. which felt like a massive failure after 10 years of going from zero, to $1 to $2 million a year in proceeds.
Yeah.
And it was what had identified us for a decade. And it's like, now, really? If we don't liquidate, we go down with the ship. So we liquidated. Our leases were expiring for our retail locations. We notified our wholesalers we're exiting the business. We didn't owe anybody anything. Yet at the end of 10 years, we had no momentum. We said goodbye to our customers. We had liquidated our inventory, and it was like, now what? So it felt absolutely horrible. I thought it was the worst thing in my life. But a funny thing, Steve, I remember in agony emotionally over what had transpired, and a relationship of mine had ended terribly. There was another person involved. She was cheating on me. It was like I was at the lowest low of my life. And I remember thinking, this was so powerful. Don't try to figure out how you got where you are, Mike. Instead, dwell on the truth. You know how life works. Your thoughts become things. You are of God. The future is for you to decide. Start working it. And so instead of looking for what was wrong with me, because I would have found so much stuff, I'd still be undoing it. Yeah. I doubled down on my dreams, my end results. I got vision boards. I had affirmations going. I looked within. I self-reflected. I examined my beliefs around abundance. And I started knocking on doors and doing things that didn't even make that much sense, like sending out a free email. And the next thing I knew, I'm hearing from you, being invited to England to speak, because I had this audio program that was out there that was self-published. And it got better and better and better. I was invited to speak in The Secret. And I remember waking up one day, literally being like, it's all happened. And it wasn't like I went from a sucky life to a great life overnight. But one day I did literally find myself with this shocking realization that I was living the life of my dreams in every way, doing what I most wanted to do, with wealth and abundance, friends and laughter, international travel galore. And I remember thinking, when did this happen? And it was like a slow metamorphosis during which I didn't realize it was happening. So anybody watching right now, if it feels like something's not happening, don't judge your journey with your physical senses. They show nothing of the truth. Tipping points have already been reached. And it's only after a dream comes true that you realize in hindsight the miracles that were working on your behalf that at the time seemed like same old, ain't no big deal. When's my life going to take off? And then, Steve, I look back wondering, what did cause the train wreck of my life, at the turn of the millennia, year 2000. And I couldn't find a train wreck. And I was like, wait a minute. I was so upset. I had no life momentum. I was starting everything over, didn't even know what I was starting. Of course, there was a train wreck. But this shows you, if you use your physical senses, you're going to find stuff wrong. In hindsight, I could look back, and prior to the calamity and the liquidation, while things were mostly going good, I lamented that I couldn't reach more people with my metaphysical sayings that were on souvenir t-shirts. I loved what I was doing, but I wanted to reach more people. I wanted to make more money. I wanted to travel farther and better, and first class accommodations. And then the train wreck. I lost it all. And then I rolled up my sleeves and got busy. And lo and behold, I was doing the same thing. Instead of writing for t-shirts, I'm sending out notes from the universe. Instead of wishing I could reach more people, I'm out there in the world speaking in KL and in Sydney and in Hawaii and all over North and South America and in Europe. It was like everything I dreamed of prior to the train wreck was suddenly coming true. The train wreck was not a train wreck. It appeared that to the physical senses. Everything stopped. But in hindsight, I could see that it stopped so that my train could change tracks and go further, faster, higher, better. It was the beginning of the biggest dream of my life coming true. But in the moment, it was all bad.
Yeah.
So this is a big lesson, and don't use your physical senses. They lie. Bear down to truth. Do what you can. Have wisely defined end results. Show up, even when nothing seems to be changing. Show up and settle for nothing less than what your heart desires.
Great words. So you were really in a transition, and you mentioned a couple of times there the word abundance. I love that. You know, it said, is it a biblical thing? I heard someone say, from abundance there came abundance. There is an infinite supply of anything that we want, but this prison we put ourselves in by using our five sensory data to as our perception of the world, of our world. I recently, a year ago, I got into Neville Goddard, yeah? And one of his teaching was, your world is you pushed out. Would you like to expand on that, or tell me?
Well, yeah, that's my tagline, stemming from about 1997. One of our hit T-shirts, when we were mostly a T-shirt company, said, with my brother's graphic designs, warning, thoughts become things. Choose them wisely. And when I came up with that little slogan, however modest it may seem, after reams of paper trying to write different ideas and poems and whatever, I suddenly saw those three words and I was just like, that captures everything with regard to where we fit in to the equation of reality creation. Our thoughts literally become the things and events of our lives. They're pure energy. And though we don't manifest our thoughts out of thin air, something more miraculous happens. We hold on to the vision in spite of nothing changing, and then we move with it. And there's this slow metamorphosis, during which time it feels like nothing's happening. But if we keep moving in spite of the appearance of nothing happening, suddenly we wake up one day and we're living what we were earlier only thinking and taking baby steps towards. And what this does, to connect that thought with Neville Goddard and your wise, observation of the connection here, is that, everything on the outside is a reflection of the inside, not a spontaneous reflection. That's what the soup of time and space and these illusions is all about. This is the challenge. This is the adventure. Can you hold on to the thought, even though it hasn't shown up yet, and hold on to it and believe in it, even though there seems no hope, and believe in it to a degree you're moving with it, and ultimately your world, your happiness, your dreams will become the things and events of your life, because it's an extension. We are literally, Steve, as you well know, projecting the illusions around us, not receiving them. We are the prime mover. We think we are the reactor. Too many people react to the world around them, which just perpetuates that which they are reacting to. And so you get these nasty spirals or circles of events. If you're reacting to the unpleasant, you get more unpleasant. If you're reacting to the fortunate, you get more good fortune. If you're reacting to the abundance, then you are believing in the abundance. So the outer world, the physical world, is always, always, always a reflection of your thoughts, beliefs, expectations, intentions within, made manifest. So you don't like what you're going through? Change the picture, change your words, change your behavior, which does nothing to the physical senses, but in time, mountains are moved.
Yeah. I learned a while back, it was something, I think it was maybe Bruce Lipton or Greg Braden I was watching, and I just thought about something, this using your third eye to visualize, but using the feeling, your solar plexus, your heart. And we might talk about meditation later, but I certainly don't think meditation, you don't have to sit there and go om. And again, from Goddard, I got this thing about being, you're most susceptible when you're in a state akin to sleep, when you're in theta waves. And I started to really visualize and feel. And I've got to tell you, I tried it for 2 or 3 nights, 2 or 3 mornings when I'm waking, and then bang, I had this, it started in my right foot. I had this surge of electrical energy go through my body. I'm like, shoot, I don't want that to stop. What is that? Have you experienced that?
I haven't experienced the way exactly that you've described it, but your thoughts become things. And the reason some thoughts haven't yet is because other thoughts of ours have. There's no exception. Our thoughts become things, intentionally or unintentionally. So what makes the difference? What makes one thought become a thing or an experience or a set of circumstances over another? And while there are a few other parameters, like your beliefs and the collective manifestations of the time, one of the most telling and most powerful overriding sources of energy that propels thoughts into the physical world are our feelings, our emotions. And so, rightly said by Greg and your other teachers, that, you know, create the image in your mind, but lace it and dress it up in emotion and joy. I mean, even if you're faking it, just when I visualize, I'm just in that zone of yes, yes, thank you, I love it, and I feel the joy, I feel the euphoria. It just goes right through my whole body, and it goes out into the elements, where by law it comes back as the things and events, circumstances, and relationships of your life.
And I'm guessing, as you're saying that, I'm having insights. So the stronger you bolster the thought with that emotion from your heart, from your solar plexus, and the longer you hold that for, and perhaps the more frequently you do that, that's like amplifying the signal that you're putting out there. So the stronger and more often you do that, the quicker the physical manifestation is going to happen. Yeah.
Oh yes. That's exactly the case. A couple of points, though, I like to share with people. I know when I first got into this, you may relate, Steve, I was a little bit worried when all of a sudden I would catch myself with fearful negative thoughts. And I'd be like, oh, I'm doomed. Oh, and I can't stop worrying. Oh man, I'm going to get fired. My girlfriend's going to break up with me, or whatever. And I'd be like, oh man, thoughts become things, and there's emotion behind it. But something that has really been one of my greatest realizations in these 20 years of teaching, from an observation in my life, which everyone can observe the same in their life. It's as if, Steve, our positive thoughts are 10,000 times more powerful than our negative thoughts. So don't worry that you worry. Do your best to stay on track. Do your best to feel joy, even when you're feeling fear, at least when you're doing your creative visualization, and you're golden. And it's because while we live in a non-judgmental universe, and there's no divine intelligence out there frowning at anybody, because we're all doing our best, we are all of the divine. Too often, people new to metaphysics think and extrapolate that non-judgment to be placing us in a neutral universe. Like, oh, the universe says you think green, you get green. You think pink, you get pink. There's no judgment. You think good, you get good. You think bad, you get bad. That's not true. When you think bad, you are out of sync. You are out of alignment with the magnificence that brought you here. You are of God, by God, pure God. You are here to rock and roll. You came for the adventure and for the love and to be loved. So when you think I'm dumb, I'm not lovable, that's not true. That's hard to make those thoughts become things. When you think, I'll probably make it happen. I'll probably live in abundance. I'll probably find my soulmate. I'm going to take some action. I see it done. Yeah. Give thanks in advance. It's like, well, yeah, that's what happens when you're God. So you're absolutely right. The more emotion, the more power, the more likely that it will come to pass quicker, so long as there's not conflicting beliefs and things like that. But even if there are conflicting, if they're negative, but there's more positive, and just a little bit of positive will offset a lot of negative because of the imbalance, you're going to be good to go. So when people feel and realize they catch themselves with an emotional upheaval of fear and worry. It's like, okay, don't worry that you worry. Simultaneously start a new train, a new track of positive thoughts, and you're going to be good as gold.
Yeah, I get it, 110%. Just sort of wrapping up on that little sort of topic there, when, and I'm sure this has happened to you, when you explain visualization and manifestation, a lot of people, certainly who I've spoken to, they think you're a bit kooky and they're too five sensory oriented, too black and white, too linear, yet they're doing it. People are doing this by, we seem as human beings to have a default visualization of things going wrong, doom and gloom. So, because there's always a voice inside everybody's head, but it's usually telling them what they can't do, or that's all right for Mike to do, but it's not all right for Steve. You know, you're down there, he's up there. So people are doing this all the time, but by default, they're not necessarily doing it in the best way. Their unconscious competence to the negative side of this. How would you address that? And what advice would you give to anybody who has that constant negative voice inside? How can they make that shift?
The biblical verse, and I'm not of a religion anymore. I don't buy that. I'm very spiritual, not religious, but still there's beauty in, some scripture and different holy books. The truth shall set you free. And when you get to the truth and you understand how powerful you are, and you understand the truth that thoughts in alignment with your magnificence and life's beauty and your power become things quicker than negativity, you automatically cut yourself a little bit of slack. You automatically stop giving your power away to fate, fortune, destiny, tea leaves, zodiac signs. You know, there's something to all of that.
Yeah.
But we override it all with the thoughts we choose to think. And don't give your power away either to some God who supposedly decides what happens in everyone's life. You are of that God. God's choice was to be you, to see what would happen, to be alive in the adventure, for a fleeting chance to taste the illusions that you're creating on the fly. So anybody who gives their power away to these other things and doesn't know the truth will be less likely to sit down and visualize once a day for 5 minutes, will be less likely to take baby steps, will be less likely to believe that they're being pushed on to greatness every day. And so they yield to the negativity without any pushback. Or maybe there's fear or discomfort, but they're not going to sit down and visualize abundance because it seems so futile, it seems so woo-woo, seems so pointless. And so those are the few exceptions where negative, pessimistic thoughts will prevail and become the things and events of your life, because there was virtually no pushback, there was virtually no positivity. Whereas in truth, you will at least try. You might have a vision board or put a picture of a beautiful home on your refrigerator from Architectural Digest, and have a few little sparks in your life. That will save the day. Combined with a few baby steps, you become unstoppable. So that's what I would say to folks who think that this is pie in the sky, or who think that they're not up to the task. Nobody has known anxiety more than me. Nobody has known fear more than me. Nobody has known negativity more than me. And I've experienced these three things in the last couple of years. They're always part of my cadre. You know, they show up when I'm doing something new, or I'm speaking to a larger audience, or I'm going live to, more people than ever before, or I've got a new book deadline or commitment or contract or circumstance in my personal life. I'm not immune to this stuff. I just know that I can beat it. I just know if I show up with some small amount of positivity, I will offset all that crap. And I do. I prevail. I rock on, and I move deeper and deeper into truth. My goal now, Steve, is enlightenment, truly. It's there for all of us to live in a place of ecstasy and joy 24/7. This is our birthright. We are of God. We did not come here to get squashed and beaten down, and nor do we have to go through the mud or sadness or heartbreak in order to appreciate joy. We can go straight to joy by being immersed in truth, realizing we're never alone, that these jungles of time and space are a workshop. They are not reality, and that we do indeed all live forever.
I get it. And your energy's beaming out of this Mac on me. I'm telling you, it's really great, you know? So you mean to say, I'm being facetious here, you mean to say we weren't put here to get down on bended knee and worship effigies that discourage and get pissed off when we're having a good time down here on earth?
Exactly correct. We are not here to grovel. We are not here to be selfless. I'm all about service, and service is one of the things that lights me up the most. But I call it selfish service, not selfless service. God didn't choose to be you for you to now decide, I'm not going to be me. I'm going to put the needs of others before my own. You got to take care of business at home. My mom would always say, charity begins at home, as many moms say. And so, you need to get your house in order. And that doesn't mean, live in a tent and eat, oatmeal all day long. It means get your act together, live the light that shines inside of you, be who you fully are capable of being. And then, my gosh, are you going to help a lot of people? Are you going to be able to be of service? But, take care of business at home, or do both simultaneously. But you've got to honor who you are, honor God's choice to be you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that whole thing about, making money, doing well, getting your own house in order, it is so true. I can't remember who it was said, but this stuck with me. The guy said, if you're going to help anybody else out of the mire, out of the ditch, you've got to get yourself out first in order to be able to reach down to give them a hand, whatever that hand may look like. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that doesn't, that's absolutely right. And you don't have to stop, at a house with 1 or 2 bedrooms. I mean, there's nothing unspiritual about wealth. If you put your happiness off to accumulate it, well, that's a big problem, and it's going to bite you in the butt. If you completely neglect other people, that's also going to bite you in the butt. So, I mean, just like in the pursuit of anything in the world, if you do it unwisely, it'll blow up in your face. But there's nothing inherently unspiritual about you taking care of business at home and finding your own joy. And if that means having a boat or going on, international travel, as you concurrently live your life, then please do it. You will be a light for all people.
Yeah, I agree. And, like you, I'm a big amateur on the Bible, on any religious texts or anything like that, but there is some good truth in them. I think that they tell metaphors. I was in a seminar one time where somebody was giving an explanation of, the speaker was giving an explanation of a particular chapter in the Bible, which actually said, it transmuted to be saying it is a sin to be poor, for the virtual fact that you are not in a position to help others if you are poor. Yeah. It's a sin not to embrace abundance.
Yeah, it's being pressed out to all of us all the time, and that doesn't mean hoard, and that doesn't mean gluttony. But if you like the finer things, there's enough for everyone. There really, really is. We live in a world of thought. It's all holographic, if you will. And so to be of God, by God, pure God, and to deny yourself to such a degree that your health goes bad, or that you don't have awesome, loving friendships, or that you live on a shoestring and can't afford to live on your terms, I see the parallel to the concept of sin. It's like, that's not spiritual.
No, it's not, is it? So you mentioned the word holographic. I wanted to ask you this today. What's your take on this whole holographic simulation matrix style parallel universes existing on different levels of frequency, whole deal. What's Mike Dooley's take on that in a nutshell?
Well, there was a lot there that you just uttered. Let's begin with The Matrix, the movie that I think virtually everyone has seen and most people love. I absolutely adore that movie. I am blown away by the parallels in that movie, The Matrix, with the truth about the nature of reality. I would only diverge, and I understand that they did for whatever reason. It's still an awesome movie, but I would only diverge in the sense that there was this kind of innate, how do I say that word, malevolence, this innate evil, this innate corruption at kind of I guess you would call it corporate level, or I don't know who it was that was trying to run the Matrix. But in reality, there is no such malevolence. There is no such evil. The only malevolence or the only evil is us not understanding the truth, which stems from us using our physical senses to think and judge ourselves based on what's going on in the world. And we like it, we don't like it, we're making progress, we're not making progress, we're good, we're bad. That's eating of the forbidden fruit. That's Adam and Eve, the metaphor of Adam and Eve. That's looking at the apple and thinking it's real. To the degree you bite it, it's a thought form. You created it in this bastion of order where you're a streaming manifester. If you all of a sudden eat your own holographic projection, you have lost control. You are now head over heels into the Maya, and now you have to react to the apple and the forest fire and the bad people that are out there. You've completely forgotten who you are. And you've used a few references to Eastern philosophy already, like Maya, which is the illusions, and reading Autobiography of a Yogi. I think that's where I just read this the other day, rereading it. It's such an exciting book. The explanation of Satan is, I forget what the Greek meaning was. It was not an entity. It was basically Satan is or arises when we give all of our power away to the illusions and we start reacting, and when we start thinking that we have to put out fires and we have to physically manipulate and micromanage the change we want in the world instead of going within. This is heaven. Heaven on earth. It comes from here. Create it in your mind in spite of the circumstances, and don't surrender to Satan, which is, as this interpretation went, a belief that you are small, a belief that you are vulnerable, a belief that you are powerless, a belief that you need to react to the illusions, not realizing you're creating them on the fly, and reacting to them just emboldens them. So I think, so back to the Matrix, that's the enemy. It is ourself. And it is when we give our power away to the illusions, we stop realizing we have power over them to change them in any way we like. There's also parallel universes, aliens, alternate realities. All of that stuff is super cool and fun to ponder. But at the same time, that's where we came from, with a full knowledge of all that stuff. We're eternal beings, not just from birth onwards, but we existed prior to time and space, if you can get that. Prior is a time reference. We existed before there was time and space, before time. Okay, that's weird. So we are eternal that way as well. And so that we are here kind of indicates that it was by choice, and that there is order and meaning, and all is supremely well. And so we came from an awareness of alternates and probabilities and multiple dimensions and all the other millions of planets that are inhabited. But what's most important now is being Steve and being Mike, and realizing that we are everywhere, always at once, holy, divine creatures. And I go there all the time in thought, wondering about these other things. But what's most important, figure out this lifetime, figure out your own magnificence, feel the love that's everywhere, and then all of that stuff will come back and flood into our memory and be like, oh yeah, yeah. So
yeah, that's really that's really insightful and really cool. You know, do you think that? So you know that people, especially today, with all this like political correct bullshit, and you can't say this, no, you couldn't possibly do that, and so many people, I feel, are like suppressing their true selves. They're in this repression, and it's like bottling something up inside, yeah. But they're not being their authentic selves, like you were just alluding to there. And so they go on and they live a life pleasing up, trying to please everybody else, even trying to please people and stuff and entities and organizations they don't know and will never meet. And I just wonder if when somebody lives a life like that in its entirety, when they're taking their final breath, just as they're passing, because they say this is like a moment of epiphany, I wonder if they get a flashback of what they should have done, how they should have done, lived it, to see them on the way to their next life. What do you think?
Well, it's complicated. I think political correctness is a synonym for kindness and thoughtfulness, and I think that is okay. But I totally agree that there's a ton of inauthenticity in the world.
Yeah.
And if you're inauthentic, that means you're disconnected with your heart. That means you're disconnected with your divinity. That means you're trying to be something you're not. And on your deathbed, as you put it, in your final moments, you would realize that it could have all been corrected on the fly so effortlessly if you had just honored your desire to find happiness in every day. And that doesn't mean go manifest everything so you can be happy. That means be happy even before you manifest stuff. Be happy in the magical world that you now live in. Be happy with who you already are and what you already have. And then you become a magnet for more stuff. Follow your heart. Do what you want to do. Don't do it because it's the proper thing to do. Don't do it because you're supposed to do it. Be unpredictable. Be spontaneous. Be led by joy and follow the light and the energy throughout every waking moment. And then you will be living a truly authentic life for whom all things are added.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned your, just digressing slightly here, I really wanted to ask you this question. You mentioned your mom was involved with you. You mentioned your mom a couple of times, and she was in the t-shirt game with you and your bro. I'm guessing from hearing you over the years, your mom was like a huge influence on you.
Yeah, she was. I would say best friend for my whole life until she passed, which was about 5 years ago at I think 81, 82. I wouldn't call her a guru. She wasn't particularly enlightened. But as our journey unfolded, she was the one who got into metaphysical principles first. The book was, the first real book was, I believe, the Silva Mind Control, about controlling your own mind. And then the Seth Material by Jane Roberts. Yeah. And then Richard Bach's Illusions and Jonathan Livingston Seagull and Siddhartha. She found all this stuff and she was like, she couldn't believe it. This was not, she was very Catholic, very British, born in Hemel Hempstead, Hertfordshire. And this was like, this was bad stuff. This was not condoned by the church. But she was lit up and she would say, Mike, you got to read this. And we would like delve into it, me, my brother, sister, and her. Over dinner, and she would be, I can't believe it. And it's so profound. And you should hear what Seth has to say about this and about that and about the other. And, Stephen, those books, generally, when it comes to truth, you're on to something powerful when there's no agenda. There was no call to send money to Jane Roberts. You're on to truth when it doesn't exclude anybody. You're on to truth when it only speaks of life's beauty and our power. And it just lights you up inside. And so while this was alien stuff to us back then, it just lit us all up. And really, from that point back, I think I was 18, 19 years old, it was all about, we live in this magical world where no one's being judged and everyone's doing their best, and our thoughts become things, which explains why positive thinking has the power and why people visualize, what are we going to do with it? And we never thought of being teachers or examples.
Yeah.
But, it was our greatest fascination and our greatest passion. And when we had our own company, a t-shirt company, it spilled into the writings on the t-shirts and on the greeting cards and everything else we did. And when that liquidated, it turned into emails and audio programs and world tours. And it's always been our bliss. But so Mom was kind of like, there had to have been some kind of ancient contract for sure.
Yeah.
Best friend, guiding light is not the right word. Just a fellow adventurer who I adored, and I'm at peace with her passing. I know she's rocking it on the other side, and all's good. And I can't wait to hang out with her some more in the sense that we do here on Time and Space.
Well, she definitely put you on the path with, and you say maybe she wasn't enlightened in the classical way we think of enlightened, but at least she was, given her upbringing, as you've just described it, she was open enough to look into other things and to expose you to them, which put you on the path and then encouraged you right up until her passing, I'm guessing, yeah?
Oh, yes. And I was so blessed for that. I was so blessed by her being my mom. And I know everybody doesn't have that kind of a mom, but nevertheless, there's order. So whether you have a mom that guides you or doesn't guide you, loves you or doesn't love you, there's meaning there. You are part of the formulation of this lifetime. And perhaps it's so that you can put your own legs under the table and find out how invincible you are without somebody leading you there.
Yeah. I think that, though, that word I just used there, I always say to people that praise, encouragement, and recognition, they're like sunlight, rainwater, and horse shit are to roses to human beings. They make you flourish. They make you grow,
Yes.
Not criticism and bullying. And this is, that's the opposite effect, yeah?
Totally agree. You
mentioned a word I was going to raise here, not because I think you're one. I just wanted to talk about this with a smile. You mentioned the word guru, yeah? Have you ever thought of yourself or been called a guru?
No, I've never thought of myself as a guru. I do see myself and have long seen myself as a teacher, but I also see myself as a student. Those are labels all the way around: guru, student, teacher. Life adventure is my favorite label. I am so blessed to live the life I live, with the love that's in it and the chance to do what I love with fulfillment and creativity. And lo and behold, its focus is helping other people do it at the same time. So
that's awesome.
Wow.
I kind of knew you'd said that, because I think most people who are perceived as gurus, and it'll say, oh, such and such, self-help guru or spiritual guru, most of them, like you, they don't see themselves as gurus. It's the people, a lot of it, or the press or the media, people put, like you say, a label on people.
Yeah.
So what's your take on altered states of consciousness? Because I've been watching a lot of Mike Tyson's podcasts. I don't know if you've seen those. Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson. You got to check him out. It's brilliant. He's a really good interviewer, actually. He does it with another guy, and they have all sorts of guests on. And but he was talking about getting into an altered state of consciousness. He's always been terrified of dying. And he said he did it was either the ayahuasca with a shaman, or he did the smoke the toad thing. And he described this experience where he saw like a pineal gland, and he went on this trip, we would call it, and he said after that he's never been afraid of dying.
Wow. Well, I think the most altered state we could ever have or possess is the one we're experiencing right this minute.
Yeah,
So diverse and far from the truth, but yet that creates the adventure, and it makes it all possible. So I don't think of it as a bad thing. Certainly, there are ways to get closer to the truth, and many of them would be considered, altered. Um, I have not done any plant medicine myself. I don't know that I will. It's not I'm not itching to do it. I don't think there's anything wrong or unspiritual about it. I've certainly heard a lot of great stories and people having major breakthroughs with ayahuasca, but I haven't done it myself. I do believe, I know deeply that plant medicine may accelerate what is otherwise naturally possible.
yeah, yeah.
And I do aspire to that kind of ecstasy and that kind of blending of God's mind with my own mind, so that when I look out the window into nature or at the ocean, I see myself everywhere. I see exactly, literally, and many yogis have described the same, where you mentioned a quote from Neville Goddard, how the outer is a reflection of the inner, and the deepest truth of that is that we're all connected. It's all connected. We're all streaming this stuff. Your view of the Atlantic Ocean is different than my view. There's almost like there's two oceans, and what your view is what you are projecting. It is you. It is you, and mine is mine, and seeing that oneness is something I've approached and skimmed and seek to know on a waking basis all the time. Very altered, well, closer to truth, altered by
Cool.
our perspective, by our definitions from here, although where we are now is the most altered.
Yeah, I get it. And so you mentioned you were in the in this hit spiritual and personal development film of the book The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, which was all about the predominantly about the law of attraction, and that was a massive hit. I remember seeing the Bob Proctor showed me and a handful of other people the pre-production edit of that film before it came out in a hotel room in London, and it just went absolutely stellar. How did that affect your life, your career, your popularity, your notoriety, the whole ball of wax?
Well, obviously it raised my profile considerably, but prior to The Secret, you invited me to London. Prior to The Secret, I think I had already completed 2 world tours, already recorded it. So I was already doing everything that I would do after The Secret.
Yeah,
So, it didn't change as much as one would think, although I'm so grateful that I had that opportunity to present in it. It was a blast. It's an awesome book and an awesome DVD. But I think sometimes some folks might think that, The Secret enabled me to do what I now do. And the truth is, I was doing it for 6 years prior to The Secret's creation, which is why I was in The Secret. And of course, those of us who were in The Secret, we all did it for free.
yeah,
But because it raised my profile, my audience sizes increased, not by that much, probably went from an average of 70 people to 120 people.
yeah.
And so, but, just witnessing it, experiencing it, having conversations with Rhonda before, during, and after. Her vision was to bring joy to billions, and seeing that literally happen. It's probably one of the coolest things that ever happened in my life, but
Awesome.
not for the reasons that may be speculated upon. It was just
Yeah,
like a total wow manifestation where me and those in it were in alignment and thereby connected by divine intelligence to bring a message to the world that would change lives. And it was just like, oh my, it was just like witnessing the magic and the miracles to an incredible degree to this very day.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying fully. I worked in a company in the 90s with a bunch of people, and people would say, well, you only enjoyed that because you did well financially, but that wasn't it. I had the biggest privilege for about 3 years, you know, and this is the antithesis of what happens to most people. I could not wait to get to work in the morning. I'll wake up and I was excited about going there. And it was hugs with everyone, high fives. It was like a family. And I've never experienced it. It was like a love between us. Yeah, we were all connected. There's about 20 people working.
That's the best.
And if you've had that, then you've been lucky, haven't you? Because most people don't get that kind of thing happen to you.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's why we're here. That's there for everyone, and that's the message that I most want to share.
Yeah. So you talked about the world tours. I know, as well as just like turning up at venues and speaking and going around different countries, you started doing these cruises where you would get a lot of people who subscribe to your blog and to your website all together, and you literally go on holiday together for a week or 10 days, and everybody speaks and shares. Tell us about that, because that sounds like great fun.
Oh man, that is, you know, we had to cancel the most recent trip because of coronavirus.
Yeah.
We had a streak of like 27, we call them WOW tours, Wonders of the World Tour, 27 back to back every 6 months, usually a week. When we went to Africa twice, I think we made it like 10 days. Where, I would just tell subscribers to my Notes from the Universe and put it on my website that, hey, we're going to Kenya. Here's the deals. Register with my travel guy. And, you know, anywhere from 40 to 120 people would show up on these different WOW tours. I mean, we've been to Tahiti 3 times, Hawaii, Norway, Iceland, Machu Picchu 5 times, Vietnam, Cambodia, Bali. And really, it's always been for the fun of it. You know, they're not big boondoggles financially, but I wanted Tut's Adventurers Club that I explained at the outset of our time here together now to be more than just philosophical. I wanted there to be, you know, let's enjoy the fruit of living deliberately, creating consciously. Let's go to Cairo. Let's go to Italy. Let's go to Ireland. And so we did. And there's more up our sleeves. We have no intention of slowing down. We've only missed one because of coronavirus.
Yeah, you'll be back on it soon. So I was catching up with you online, and I didn't know this until a few days ago. I gather our friend Anthony Hopkins, Hannibal Lecter, is a bit of a fan of yours, or you had dinner with him, or you know him. Tell us that. That's awesome. I love Tony Hopkins. I watch every film he's in. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, me too. Me too. That's a funny story. I teach to audiences, you know, that one of the ways you can ramp up, you know, expectation and deep positive emotion attached to future visions is to kind of play a game of make-believe with friends of yours who get this stuff. They got to get this stuff. That's important, or you'll be laughed out of the joint.
Yeah.
So I used to pretend with my mom and brother years ago when we had the t-shirt business, you know, that we were flying here on private jets, going there to see our private homes. You know, those were my priorities back then, because I was in my 20s and 30s, and I was like, you know, I wanted the bling and the glitz, you know, based upon a life that I loved. So after we liquidated the t-shirt business, you know, and many good things came from that business. We did really well, as I said, for 10 years. Suddenly I'm writing and speaking, and then I'm in The Secret. And I got an email from the family assistant to the Hopkins saying that, you know, Stella and Anthony have read the book, and they saw my bio in the back, and they saw that I sold over 1 million t-shirts with my brother and mother. And do I have a moment to speak with Stella? And I was like, I did. I had a moment. And so we arranged to connect. And I found out that Anthony is this Renaissance man. I know of him much better now than I knew then. He's a composer, he's an artist, he's a renowned actor, and his doodles are really cool and really clever. And he collects them, in between film shoots when he's, on location. And Stella wanted to do a t-shirt company in Japan, where they are very fond of not only Anthony, but stuff from the West, and big into t-shirts and cool graphics, which is where we sold a lot of t-shirts. She asked if I had contacts in Japan. I still did. She talked to, Anthony on the phone, said to me, Mike, next time you're in LA, you're invited to our home for dinner. And I was like, oh, God.
Wow.
And I remember calling my brother right after that call. You won't believe who's invited me to their home. Hannibal Lecter. And he's like, what? And he thought I was playing the game of make believe. And I'm like, no, serious.
Yeah.
And I told him the whole story. And it was just so wow. I do share when I tell this story that I didn't get to LA for over a year. And when I did get there, they were in Europe, and I never did get to take them up on that offer. It never did happen. I don't know whatever happened with the t-shirt business, but
some other time
it was the next best thing, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. He's
to have gone on that emotional roller coaster and be invited to dinner with Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah. He's got the most wonderful speaking voice. When you watch something, it could be like a nature anything. When he's narrating it, it's just fantastic. Gosh. Yeah. Genius. So talking of fantastic people, did you ever? Because I know you are affiliated and you work very closely with Hay House Publishing Group. Yeah, Is that right? Yeah.
Yes. They are my main present publisher. Them and Simon and Schuster.
So did you ever get to meet Louise Hay before she passed?
Oh yeah. I got to meet Louise and hang out with her at a couple of the I Can Do It events.
Yeah. Wow.
And then I was invited to help honor her at the San Diego Convention Center for her 80th birthday, which was shortly before she passed. So I got to meet Louise, and of course I know all the other Hay House authors and most all of the other well-known authors of a metaphysical ilk.
Because she was I listened to her a lot a few years ago, and I'll probably return to listening to her. But I used to listen to her with my headphones on at night to go to sleep. Her message was so pure, and she had just such a soothing, relaxing spirit that came out in her voice. But she was a fashion model really successful model in the 70s, eh? And then she flipped career and became like a metaphysical, spiritual writer in the early 80s. Yeah, she had a fantastic story.
Oh my gosh! Anybody who hasn't read "You Can Heal Your Life," which was her mega breakthrough success. A little bit of her bio is in there, and then her views on what different ailments in your body, whether it's arthritis or almost anything else, what spiritual connections likely exist that if you become aware of them, you can begin healing them. You can heal your life. Fantastic book, and what a life. And she did not even incorporate Hay House. She is the Louise Hay of Hay House until her 60s. And that company has grown so massively thanks to the leadership of Louise and Reed Tracy. What a manifestation. My gosh, what a global phenomenon Hay House still is to this day.
Yeah, right. I know. Speaking of books then, Hay House Publishing, what's your three favorite books, Mike? Just three. But I know you've got millions, but your three favorites, excluding any of your own as well, because that'd be cheating.
My three favorite books that have inspired me and moved me the most.
Yeah, maybe from a perspective of anybody who's watching this, if they've gotten away from personal development and spirituality, or they're new to it, what would be the three favorite books you've read that will really get somebody right back in there in this space?
Okay, well, we've already mentioned one, Autobiography of a Yogi. It's very, 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 very famous book, written, I think, in the 50s or 60s. It is literally an autobiography of a yogi. Have you read that, Steve?
No, I'm writing it down because I'm going to buy it in a minute.
Oh, man. I read it for the first time, finally, last December. And I've just finished reading it a second time.
Okay.
You gotta wait. I've just finished, sorry about that, working from home. Just finished reading it for a second time. Just boggles my mind. And then Ramtha, Ramtha, The White Book by J.Z. Knight.
Okay.
Very, very findable, very easy to find. And let's see. Oh, that's really hard to put this into three books. My gosh. I would have to say The Seth Material, Seth, by Jane Roberts. There's probably a dozen or more Seth books, Seth, by Jane Roberts. The Nature of Personal Reality is the most famous.
Nature, okay. So I'm going to buy all these because I got backslidden from reading for a while, and I just started again about 2 months ago. You know, it was just, I got out of the habit of doing it, and I've got to get back into the habit of doing it. Because and physical books as well. It's, to me, it's like when you read it on a Kindle, or when you make, when you make notes on your phone to do, there's something different that when you actually write it down on a pad the old-fashioned way, it hardwires it into your brain. When you read it in a physical book, it's different. So I'm buying books again now.
Oh, good. Well, you should. And I always do. I'm not a big reader, but the books I like, I love. And it helps to be surrounded in truth and dwell in truth, because it's absolute, it's knowable, and it sets you free. Yeah,
absolutely. So Mike, what's next for Mike Dooley? What's the next big thing on your to-do list?
Well, lots and lots of the same, but, always reinventing how I teach, a lot of virtual events, Infinite Possibility, Train the Trainer, looking forward to a Scotland Wow Tour. That's the next one. We just had to postpone to 2021. We've just wrapped up some courses. There's going to be World Tour 5 when I can travel again. My tours last about 5 or 6 years. Every 2 weeks I go and hit a couple of cities and then I go home. So I'm looking forward to World Tour 5, which will be titled Your Wish is the Universe's Command.
Okay.
And enlightenment. I'm immersed in that type of reading right now. I really believe it's there for all of us. It's been said by messiahs who have visited, the things that they do, we will do too. So truly a conscious 24/7 awareness of who I really am, who we all really are, the beauty, the love that's everywhere, the possibilities to live in ecstasy all the time.
You just reminded me of something there. I want to ask you. I've got 2 more things to ask you, and then I'll let you go because I know you've got loads to do. But why do you think it is that, since sort of time immemorial, and it's very apparent now we can see on the internet, that mankind and everyone in this space that we're involved in and that we love, we've had this obsessive curiosity of the question of who are we, where did we come from, why are we here? Why do you think that is so innate in so many people, the search for the answer to those questions?
Well, I think we suspect they're answerable. And if you get the answer to those, and I think intuitively we know this, if you get the answer to those, you will see that it's all about beauty, and it's all about love, and it's all about possibilities, and it reflects our eternal nature. It's like, I mean, the upside to truth is like unimaginable, and it's obtainable. And I think deep down we know. I mean, it's ridiculous to think that we're the random chance byproduct of space dust, you know?
Yeah.
That denies the perfection and the order and the love that is everywhere. And it's just as ridiculous to think God's an angry white man who put us here to test us and judge us, who himself is jealous and vengeful. It's ridiculous. Life isn't like that. Why would the creator of it be like that? And so we know that there's order, we know that there's a meaning, and we can sense that if we tap into it, we can really get it on in ways beyond our wildest expectations. So I think that we're in the dark at a primitive time in the evolution of consciousness. I think we're very primitive right now. I think as it goes in the cosmos, we're teenagers compared to where we can go. We're at the beginning of the arc of the evolution of our consciousness. So we're blundering idiots right now, still reacting to the world around us, worshiping idols or thinking that life is meaningless. And in spite of our naiveties, we still rock. We still have space stations. We still cooperate. We still love. So it's just going to get better and better and better and better.
Yeah. I've been a fan for a while of this English writer called Graham Hancock, if you know him.
I know Graham. I've had dinner with him.
Yeah, he's a fascinating. Brilliant. Yeah, so he's done a lot with Joe Rogan, and whose podcasts I like watching. And he basically said the same thing as you, but he was saying that that whilst we in this incarnation of humanity may be, infantile in a way, that there were previous incarnation or visitors from other dimensions who knew everything, who could, so it's fascinating, that stuff. I'm really, really into that space at the moment, because there is a resonance of truth in there for sure. So finally, Mike, if there's anybody watching this who's like maybe in the place you were in, when your relationship, and these things seem to come at once, don't you? Your relationship went to crap at the same time as you liquidated your book company. You thought, I'm 40 and it's over, and it clearly wasn't. It was just a transition. If anybody's really struggling for sort of hope and encouragement at the moment in light of sort of recent events, and there's too much change and bewilderment going on, what sort of words of hope and encouragement could you give to anybody who's at that low ebb right now?
Golly, I would say, what you're going through will soon be seen as one of the greatest gifts of your life. It is setting you up for introspection, self-reflection, and now you're on to the truth. The truth is knowable. It is a breath away. You are here for greatness. You are loved and adored. You have the power to change the circumstances in your life that displease you. So keep on the path. You're watching this, you're hearing these words, and obviously, undoubtedly, you're finding a lot more like them elsewhere. I've got 17 books. There's an endless supply of awesome books that are out there written by other people similarly on the path to truth and the revelation of their own power. It's going to get better. Hang in there. And you will not even believe that one day you were as bummed out or as depressed as you may now be feeling. You'll be like, was I really that whacked? Things are so great. My life is so awesome. Oh man, how could I have been so scared?
It's like a temporary illusion, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, it is. It's fleeting. It's passing.
Yeah. Mike, we've been on a good hour and a bit now, yeah? So I'm going to let you go. I'm going to say a massive thank you for joining me on here. It's been awesome catching up with you and seeing you and talking with you after what's been quite a while. And please let me know when you're going to be in Scotland, and I'll join you, definitely.
Absolutely, Steve. Great to see you. Great to hear you. Love you, brother. And I look forward to the time when we can hang out again.
Thanks, mate. Take care, Mike. See you next time.
How.
Bye-bye. Bye.